Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK back at you with another video here for the NBA main slate here on Sunday. We got a 4-game playoff slate, so real quick, let's see what we did last night. So last night, cashed in all the playoff slates. So we'll take a look at this later slate lineup. So you guys know from watching my video yesterday that I really like the Brooklyn-Philadelphia game as well as the Golden State and the Clippers game. So in this later slate lineup, I just stacked Golden State, the Clippers, and then I paired them with Will Barton and Gary Harris, who I talked about in my video were way too cheap for their salaries. Will Barton, I think he was at 4.3, put up 35 fantasy points, and Gary Harris, I think he was at 3.9, put up 27 fantasy points. And then I just fully stacked the Golden State and the Clippers game. Lou Williams, he was the thumbnail for my video for a reason. He was way too cheap there at 6.2. So he well outperformed his salary. Steph Curry had a huge night. Draymond was pretty solid. KD, a little disappointing, but, Steph he kind of took over there. And then Boogie Cousins was off to a great start and then fouled out, but, that's all right. So cash and everything. So let's see if we can keep it going here for, Sunday here. So, 4-game slate. If you guys watched my video yesterday, you guys know I really like the Brooklyn-Philadelphia game as well as Golden State and the Clippers. On this 4-game slate, it's really only OKC and Portland who I want to get a lot of exposure to this game. The other 3 games are still okay, but I really want to, again, try to get a lot of exposure to OKC and Portland. So let's start with Westbrook here, 10.3. It just seems too cheap for this matchup. It should stay close. It was the highest over-under of the night by far. Westbrook, he's going to play 35 to 40 minutes. I really like him here at 10.3. Harden, again, not the best matchup against Utah, but he has put up big games against Utah in the past. 10.1, it seems a little too cheap for him, so I'm definitely considering Harden. Lillard, 8.4. That's just way too cheap for Damian Lillard here. OKC has been playing, at a really fast pace. So again, I want a lot of exposure to this game. So I really like pairing Westbrook with Lillard here. Lillard, he just seems way too cheap here at 8.4. Donovan Mitchell, 8.2. He has some pretty big upside here. Obviously, if there's no Rubio, Donovan Mitchell has way more upside, but Rubio expected to play, so I think Donovan Mitchell is perfectly fine. But me personally, I'm just leaning towards getting as much exposure to this OKC Portland game as possible. Kyrie at 8.1. Another guy who does have some pretty big upside. Indiana is a pretty solid defensive team. I'm not going to talk you off Kyrie if you want to go there. But personally, again, I'm just going to try to get as much exposure to this OKC Portland game as I can. Chris Paul, 6.9. I think he's perfectly fine. If I was going to play someone in this game, it probably would be Harden. But I think Chris Paul is okay there at 6.9. Bledsoe, it's tough. I really think Milwaukee is going to blow out Detroit. If Detroit keeps it close, I think Drummond's going to have a huge game. We don't even know if Blake Griffin's going to play. That's obviously some pretty big news we're going to have to wait on. But, yeah, right now, I'm leaning towards Milwaukee. Just going to blow out Detroit. CJ, 5.8. I mean, that seems way too cheap. But, personally, I would prefer just paying the couple extra thousand for Damian Lillard there. Rozier here at 4.9. We got news that Marcus Smart's going to be out for a little bit here. So Rozier should see some extra minutes. I would say right around 25 or so at 4.9. I think he's perfectly fine as a mid-tier to lower, mid-tier to value play type guy. Let's see. Other than that, Ish Smith's been playing really solid, 3.9. I think he's okay for value. Below that, though, I really don't think anyone else is playable. So let's move on to shooting guard. Middleton, again, this Milwaukee game, right now, we don't know if Blake Griffin if he's going to play. If he plays, then maybe Detroit can keep it close. If he's out, I really think Milwaukee's is going to run the court of Detroit. So as of right now, I'm just going to stay away from this game. Let's see, Ingles at 6.3. I think he's perfectly fine. Him, Donovan Mitchell will probably be my two, as well as Gobert. Those would be the three Utah Jazz guys that I don't consider. But again, I really just like the OKC Portland game. I want to get as much exposure to it as possible. Below that, Jaylen Brown, same thing with Rozier. He should see a little extra run here with no Marcus Smart. I think he's okay. Eric Gordon at 4.1. I know he hasn't really been playing the best, hasn't really been shooting the best, but this guy does have some pretty big upside. I know obviously Harden and Chris Paul are healthy, but 4.1K, that just seems too cheap for Eric Gordon, so I like him a decent amount here as a value play. All right, let's move on to small forward. Giannis, again, I really just think Milwaukee blows out Detroit, so I'm not going to go there with Giannis. Paul George, perfectly fine. He's listed as questionable. I fully expect him to play. So him, Westbrook, perfectly fine. If I had to pick between the two, I would go with Westbrook because he does have more upside. But if you want to go Paul George, I have no opposition to that. Let's see. Other small forwards, there's not really a whole lot that sticking off the page to me. I know Mo Harkless has been playing pretty solid, 4K. I don't think he's the worst player in the world, but yeah. There's really not a whole lot I like at small forward. Power forward here. Obviously, Blake Griffin at 7.5. If he's going to play, not going to be limited, I think he's a really solid play there. But if he's out, obviously you can look to Drummond, but then I really think Milwaukee sweeps or just runs the court with Detroit. So if Blake Griffin's out, I'm probably going to stay away from this game. Al Horford at 6.5. I think it's perfectly fine. I'm not going to talk you off him. Am I going to play him? Probably not, but I think he's okay there, 6.5. Let's see. Thon Maker would be a guy, if Blake Griffin's out, that I would consider. He's a pretty low usage guy, but he would get a pretty big minutes boost. So one of those guys where if you're going kind of more stars scrubs approach, where I would consider him at 3.8 if Blake Griffin's out. Okay, yeah, let's move on to center. Drummond. If there's no Blake, he is going to be basically him and Reggie are going to be the whole offense, but I just really think Milwaukee is just the way better team, and they run the court with Detroit if Blake's out. Now, if Blake's in, I think Drummond's okay still, but I just don't think I'm going to go there on this 4-game slate. And then you got Rudy Gobert. Centers have been destroying Houston of late. Gobert, he's going to play 35 minutes if he doesn't get in foul trouble, so I think he's a really solid play here at 7.7K that has some pretty big upside. So I really do like Rudy Gobert. Capella, again, Utah does run big, so I think Capella is going to play 35 minutes or so. 6.7, that seems too cheap for him. So I do like Capella. And then you got Cantor at 6.6. Obviously, there's no Nurkic. It is a revenge game, too. I think Cantor plays 35 minutes or so. Whenever you can project him to play big minutes, that's when you like Cantor. As long as he stays out of foul trouble, I really do think Cantor plays 30-plus minutes, so I like him a lot here at 6.6. Again, you got the revenge game going for him, too. Sabonis, him and Miles Turner, I think are perfectly fine, but just the Indiana-Boston game is not too appealing for me. Steven Adams, I think he's okay. He's going to play 30, 35 minutes. Doesn't have huge upside. I would prefer playing Russell Westbrook or Paul George, but I don't mind Steven Adams at 6.1. Let's see. Brooke Lopez could be asked to play a few extra minutes because Detroit runs big. I don't mind him here at 5.5. Other than that, though, there's really not a whole lot I like. So, yeah, really for me on this 4-game slate, I want to try to get as much exposure to this OKC Portland game as I can. So it's probably going to be Westbrook, Lillard, Cantor for me. In this game, I don't mind Paul George either. And then get, bits and pieces from the other 3 games. So that's kind of my approach for this 4-game slate. So I think that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you have been enjoying the content, please like the video, subscribe. If you have any questions, you can leave in the comment section down below. So it's important to follow me on Twitter. That will be in the description below. I'll give my thoughts and more news comes out throughout the day. I'll be back for another video on Monday, so I'll see you guys then.